Welcome to the More Than Fitness podcast.
Hello, ladies and gents, and welcome to Minisode number 77 on the More Than Fitness podcast. Today's Minisode topic is the 4 stages to never worry about your diet again. Am I good at creating headlines or what? Either way, I genuinely do think that this topic is not talked about enough by fitness coaches in the space, or just, any other people in the fitness or nutrition field. And I think that it's one that some people have questions about, and then others don't even know this process to have the question in the first place, if that makes sense. But after myself going through, multiple different dieting phases throughout the years, whether it be super strict bodybuilding type nutrition protocols, or now, which is where I don't track anything. I don't have any super strict fitness goals or health goals or anything like that. It's more so just eating to fit my lifestyle, be healthy, and feel good and look good on a regular basis, right? So the 4 stages that I'm going to talk about today go along with all the experience that I've had myself, along with the experience that I've learned in school about nutrition, behavior change, etc., and then also anecdotal evidence with working with hundreds of my clients. And this is actually some of the stuff that I work with if you came to be one of my clients. These are somewhat the stages that we would go through if you came to work with me, depending on your expertise. But without further ado, let's go ahead and get into stage 1. And so stage 1 of the 4 stages to never worry about the 4 stages to never worry about your diet again is very simply, it's the bare minimum. It's just daily guidelines to hit. This is typically the type of person who would come to me and they don't really have any experience tracking calories or macros. They're more so just watching what they eat. They may not have the best eating habits in place, or maybe this is somebody who's more of an intermediate. They know for the most part, like they know what a good diet looks like. They know what it looks like to eat for their goals to fuel their fat loss or muscle gain. However, they're not doing it on a consistent basis. So they know what they should be doing, but they aren't actually doing it. So the very first stage I would say is just daily guidelines. And this just helps build momentum and not put a lot of overwhelm on yourself, or so with the client that I'm working with. I don't want to overwhelm them with trying to hit very specific macros and calorie targets for every single day whenever they don't even know what a serving of protein looks like, for example. So what I would say is starting off with some daily guidelines, such as having vegetables with most of your meals. It's probably a good idea to start you out on the right foot with a healthy diet from this point forward. Having a lean protein source at each meal, also a good idea for body composition and just overall health reasons. Eliminate unconscious snacking in between meals, drinking a glass of water before each meal, or maybe even eating slower, right? That's just more mindful eating practices. And every single one of those goals would lead to better health outcomes, better body composition outcomes. So gaining muscle, losing fat, everything that this person is probably trying to do, just by telling them, okay, here's what you need to do on a daily basis, just like this is what you need to do today. That can eliminate a lot of the paralysis by analysis, keep things simple, and it can get them on the right foot and hopefully set them up for stage 2, which would be just tracking calories and protein. And then, of course, for most people, this is using an app like MyFitnessPal or Mike's Macros or FitGenie. Those are the 3 that I like to recommend for my clients and just anybody who's tracking their food in general. What this could also entail in stage 2 is taking pictures of each meal. And what this would do would just heighten their overall nutritional awareness and their conscious eating habits. Whenever you have to take out your phone, and some people do this for Instagram anyway, but before you eat every single meal or snack, it can really separate the unconscious eating and just stuffing our faces without even realizing it whenever we don't take a picture. Taking a picture is an extra step between you choosing the foods that you eat and then also eating them, right? So that picture is in between. So taking pictures of each meal is a good idea to increase overall mindfulness towards your eating. And then, like I said, tracking calories and protein. So calculating a calorie goal and a protein target based off of your goals, whether that is fat loss or muscle gain, just to keep things as simple as possible. Or if you want to maintain your weight, that's also another reasonable goal. And then for as far as adherence goes, and as far as how accurate I want these people to be on a regular basis in stage 2, I would say hitting their calorie goal within plus or minus 100 calories of their total daily calorie goal. So if their daily calorie goal was 2,000 calories, I would instead give them a range to hit. So it'd be like 1,900 to 2,100 calories per day. So if they have a perfectionist mindset or something, that way, if they're not hitting exactly 2,000 calories or really close to that, they don't feel like a failure. If you give them a range of 200 calories, like leeway, a little bit of margin of error, then they're much more likely to succeed, hit that, and feel confident about reaching that goal as well. And then with protein, I would say hitting within plus or minus 15 grams of their protein goal. So if your goal is 150 grams of protein per day, it's going to be quick math here, 135 grams to 165 grams of protein, 135 to 165. There we go. Math is hard. Grams of protein per day. That's going to be their goal. And then whenever they're comfortable with that stage, with stage 2 of tracking calories and protein, then the third stage is going to be tracking calories, macronutrients, so proteins, carbs, and fats, also tracking their fiber and beyond, right? This is basically the cream of the crop, making sure that you have full nutritional understanding of what a simple serving size looks like, what a serving size of protein looks like, serving size of carbs and fats of various foods, right? By tracking all of these different things and not just tracking calories and protein, you're going to have a wider variety of knowing how many carbs are or are not in a serving of peanut butter, for example, or with protein, right? You realize that peanut butter is actually a pretty shitty source of protein, actually, whenever it's compared to a chicken breast or some other type of meat, right? Peanut butter's fine, right? It's a healthy fat source, but that doesn't, whenever you track these things, you realize, oh, okay, so there's not very many carbs in peanut butter. There's also not very much protein, but there is quite a bit of fat. And so whenever somebody can calculate their calorie, protein, carb, and fat targets according to their goals, this also means that they have full nutritional literacy, so to speak. But this is also, if people want to make the fastest progress, this is 100% what I would tell them to do. So like whenever I did my bodybuilding competition, I had to track all of this down to the last gram. I had to weigh everything out. On the food scale, there was no estimating or anything like that. I had to be 100% precise. And for the goal that I had set, that was what was required. But it's also the most tedious, right? If you're going to track all of these things, you're going to have to be pretty precise with what you eat or don't eat on a regular basis. So it's going to have the most sacrifice. It's going to be the most tedious. However, depending on what trade-offs you're willing to accept and what goals you're really looking for here, tracking calories, macros, fiber, and more is going to be your best bet. I tell people to make sure they track fiber as well, so that they aren't hitting their calories and macro targets just by eating Pop-Tarts and butter and protein shakes, right? If you make the person hit a fiber goal, well, if you think about what fibrous foods consist of, that's going to be fruits, vegetables, whole grains, etc., right? mostly nutrient dense foods. So if we make sure that they hit a fiber goal on a daily basis, they can't do that without making sure they have a plentiful diet in fruits, vegetables, whole grains, etc. So a minimum fiber goal for the day for most of my clients is going to be 20 to 25 grams. The US recommendations are 25 grams a day for women and 38 grams a day for men. But what I typically do is have my clients get a baseline first of how much fiber they're eating on a normal basis. So if they're eating 10 grams of fiber on a regular basis, I'm not going to make, like if it's a guy, I'm not going to make them jump from 10 grams to 40 grams of fiber on a regular basis. Like their digestive systems, they're going to be bloated, they're going to be gassy. It's just going to be very unpleasant for them. So for them, if they're starting at around 10 grams a day, well then 15 to 20 grams, that's much more reasonable, and their body is going to respond. They're going to respond better to that than bumping it up to just the standard, quote unquote, on a daily basis. You can work towards that over time, but however much you're doing right now, just do slight increases and make those small changes over time. Also, people in this stage, they can play around with macro ratios for best performance and health goals. So if they are they like to eat low fat and higher carb, they're more than welcome to do so. If they want to play around with the ketogenic diet, they can go high fat, high protein, high fat, moderate protein, very low carb. They can play around with that. But whatever goals they have, they can adjust their macronutrients accordingly. Again, stage 3 is going to be not the tippy top, because that's going to be the next stage. But as far as having all the tools required to do whatever goals you're trying to do and reach that maximum efficiency with things, stage 3 is going to be where most people are set up for the 4th stage, which I'm about to get to in just a second. But to finish out with stage 3, so nutrient timing is other things that people could play around with, and then also supplements. That's going to be the full pyramid for nutritional literacy, right? I don't know why I keep saying that, but I like it. Nutritional literacy, nutrient timing, supplements, calculating calories, proteins, carbs, fats, fiber, all that fun stuff, right? And then last but not least, we move into stage 4, which is basically where I would be right now. And this isn't to, toot my own horn or anything, but I've tracked for years and years. I know how to manipulate my food intake without tracking calories or macros to fit my goals. So stage 4 is going to be guesstimating and adjusting towards whatever goals you want to set for yourself. So that could be muscle gain, that could be fat loss, that could be maintenance, that could be just for overall general health and well-being, or a combination of all the above. And for me, as far as my own dietary freedom, it's going to be guesstimating. Like, I don't want to track my food, but other people, maybe they do want to track. Maybe they are a little bit more serious about their fitness goals, and that's totally fine. For these types of people, they can still stay in stage 3 for the most part, and they can track as much or as little as they want. But for me, for someone who doesn't want to have to track my food, and I'm very comfortable guesstimating how much calories is on my plate, how much proteins, carbs, and fats based off the meal in front of me, I can get pretty close. And I've done this multiple times just for fun, actually, just to see how close I can actually get. And whenever you've gotten to that level of experience and knowledge, well, then there's no need for you to break out MyFitnessPal every single day, unless you want to get really serious for like a 6-week period and really dial things in. But that's your choice. And I think that's what stage 4 is all about. It's having the choice to track or not. And so for me, I don't feel like tracking right now. I don't have super hardcore fat loss or muscle gain goals right now. It's more so just general health, well-being, and just looking and feeling good on a regular basis. So yeah, as long as you cover most everything in stage 3, stage 4 is the tippy top, where most people, they have full food freedom. They don't have many stigmas around food. They understand there are no good or bad foods. They understand calories, macronutrients, fiber intake, nutrient timing, supplements, all that good stuff. So I think that stage 4 is probably what most of you are looking for, but you have to go through stages. Well, typically you don't have to, but based off my experiences, you have to go through stages 1 through 3 in order to reach stage 4. And so if you want to be like me and kind of just maintain and simply be healthy and live life, right? So enjoying the eating out, not tracking food, eating mostly healthy foods, right? But still enjoying yourself, you could step on the scale basically once a month or something and be fine, because you don't have any specific goals. You're not trying to get down, you're not trying to lose a certain percentage of body fat, or you're not trying to gain a certain amount of muscle in 12 weeks or something. You're just kind of living life. So as long as you just make sure you're not blowing up or anything like that, or getting way smaller, it's like you can step on the scale once every 2 to 4 weeks and be perfectly fine and see just like, okay, I'm maintaining, I'm right where I want to be, right? If you want to go through more of a fat loss or muscle gain phase, then you could do it by eating like you normally do. But if you want to diet, well, then you could just be a little bit more mindful. You could cut back a little bit on the alcohol, cut back a little bit on the desserts, eat more salads, eat more greens, eat more vegetables, and keep everything else mostly the same. And you'll probably end up losing body fat as a result. And if you want to gain muscle, well, then you would kind of just do the reverse. You'd probably just eat how you normally eat, except try and strategically eat a little bit more at each one of those meals, which would result in being in calorie surplus and gaining muscle from that. So that is it. I'm going to cut it there. That is the 4 stages to never worry about your diet again. Real quick, stage 1 is daily guidelines. Stage 2 is tracking calories and protein. Stage 3 is tracking calories, macros, fiber, and beyond. And stage 4 is basically guesstimating and then adjusting towards whatever goals you see fit. And that is it for Minisode number 77. And thank you, as always, for listening and for watching. See ya.